Have you ever noticed how many men over 50 rush headfirst into relationships, not because they genuinely desire a woman, but because they're terrified of ending up alone? It's a quiet, unspoken fear, especially common among men in this age group. Before we go any further, hit the like button. It helps this message reach more men who truly need to hear it. And tell me in the comments, do you believe men over 50 should date casually or pursue something serious? Why do you think that? Now, let's move into today's topic, and yes, it's a bold one. 5 reasons to avoid having a girlfriend after 50 or 60, examined through the lens of modern stoicism. Before you assume this comes from bitterness or a desire for isolation, let me be clear about one thing. This is about strength. It's about mental clarity. It's about emotional independence. It's about recognizing the subtle traps older men fall into. The traps that quietly drain energy, disturb peace, and slowly blur masculine identity. Let's begin with a simple truth. The enemy here isn't women. The real enemy is attachment without awareness. It's the pattern many men over 50 fall into, where they drop their boundaries simply because they feel thankful for attention. It's the hunger for validation after divorce, loneliness, or years of feeling overlooked. It's the belief that a girlfriend will repair a void in your life that only discipline, purpose, and self-respect can truly heal. Stoicism offers a powerful reminder. Never tie your happiness to something outside your control. And let's be honest, a girlfriend is exactly that, something you cannot fully control. So let's break this down. These points apply to many men in the US, UK, Canada, and Australia who enter their 50s and 60s and suddenly think maybe now is the time to settle down again. The first reason is this. Most women your age are not genuinely searching for love. They're searching for stability. This isn't an attack, it's reality. And reality is exactly what Stoicism urges us to face head on. When you're a man in your 50s or 60s, you often possess what many younger men don't yet have: stability, life wisdom, emotional steadiness, a calm masculine presence, and a clearer understanding of finances and responsibility. Women, especially those in your age range, recognize these traits immediately. But here's the uncomfortable twist. Many aren't attracted to who you are at your core. They're attracted to what you provide. And men over 50 frequently mistake this attention for genuine desire. The Stoic truth is simple. Attraction built on convenience collapses the moment that convenience disappears. Think about it this way. You buy a boat and suddenly people want to spend more time with you. Are they there for you, or are they there for the boat? Older men become the boat far more often than they realize. I've coached countless men who entered relationships believing she truly likes me for me, only to find months later that they're paying for everything, absorbing emotional stress, rearranging their lives, and receiving very little in return. It isn't cruelty, it's evolutionary, it's practical, it's human nature, but it becomes a trap when you don't recognize it early. The second reason is that you will surrender your freedom far faster than you expect. Men in their 50s and 60s finally reach a phase where life begins to feel lighter and clearer. You've survived heartbreak, career pressure, raising children, family conflict, and health scares. You've earned your peace, you've earned slow mornings, you've earned the ability to say no without guilt. But the moment you step into a committed relationship, something subtly shifts. You trade freedom for companionship, and often the companionship you gain doesn't equal the freedom you lose. You start adjusting your schedule, neglecting your hobbies, managing another person's emotional state, and shrinking your world just to keep things smooth. Stoicism teaches a crucial lesson here. Protect your inner fortress. Your peace is not negotiable. Your time is invaluable. Your energy is the resource that determines the quality of your entire life. Yet many older men give all three away within months of entering a relationship. Picture this. A man finally retires, ready to travel, exercise, reflect, and build a new chapter. He meets a girlfriend, and suddenly his trips are delayed. His gym routine fades. His weekends revolve around her plans. He begins managing her stress, her family problems, her expectations. His inner fortress isn't invaded by a villain, but by his own lack of boundaries. The third reason is that emotional responsibility almost always shifts onto you. This is where most men underestimate the true weight of relationships later in life. Women after 50 often carry deep emotional history, past heartbreaks, divorces, unresolved resentment, strained relationships with adult children, financial anxiety, social insecurity, and health concerns. You become the emotional anchor. You become the steady ground she leans on. You become the solver, the reassurer, the listener, the emotional safety net. None of this makes her a bad person, but it reveals something important. When you take responsibility for another person's emotional world, you lose space within your own. Older men often fail to realize how draining this can be. At 25, you can endure emotional turbulence because your energy is abundant. At 55, that energy is precious and needed for your health, your goals, and your peace. The relationship slowly turns into a burden instead of a support. Stoicism reminds us that a man must govern his own inner weather. Yet many older men find themselves trying to manage someone else's storm. When you constantly regulate another person's emotional chaos, you slowly disappear. You stop listening to your own needs. You stop prioritizing your well-being. You stop pursuing your ambitions. You exchange self-mastery for emotional caretaking, and it happens so quietly you barely notice it. The fourth reason is that relationships after 50 often push men into a caretaker role. This is a truth many won't admit openly. A girlfriend at this stage frequently becomes another responsibility rather than an equal partner. Not always, but often enough to demand serious attention. Women over 50 face real challenges: health changes, hormonal shifts, chronic stress, emotional exhaustion, financial uncertainty, complicated family dynamics, aging parents, adult children, and grandchildren needing support. And who becomes the emotional and practical backbone? You do. Not necessarily by choice, but because you're calm, logical, grounded, dependable, and capable under pressure. Stoicism warns against exactly this scenario: taking on burdens that are not yours to carry. In later life relationships, those boundaries blur quickly. You begin compromising your routines, your habits, and your peace. You cancel personal commitments to handle her family issues. You become the driver, the planner, the emergency contact, the stabilizer. You entered the relationship looking for companionship, but suddenly you're a caretaker. I've seen this pattern repeatedly. A man in his 60s meets a woman who seems lighthearted and easygoing. 6 months later, she's dealing with doctor appointments, adult children problems, unresolved trauma, or deep anxiety about aging. Who absorbs it all? You do. Because you're reliable, because you care, because you don't want to appear cold or indifferent. But here's the hard truth. When you accept roles you never agreed to, you slowly lose the man it took decades to build. You become responsible for a life that isn't yours. And once that dynamic is established, it almost never reverses. The fifth reason may be the most critical of all. You risk losing the prime years of your masculine rebirth. Men between 50 and 70 enter a unique and powerful phase of life. Your testosterone may be lower than at 30, but your presence is sharper. You're wiser, calmer, more grounded, more selective, and more confident in silence. This is a rebirth. But when you attach yourself to a girlfriend who doesn't align with your pace, values, or lifestyle, you risk sacrificing that rebirth entirely. Relationships demand compromise, and compromise can quietly become the enemy of personal renewal. You worked your entire life to reach this stage. Your mornings finally belong to you. Your finances are more stable. Your stress tolerance is stronger. You understand yourself deeply. You react less and think more. You know what strengthens you and what weakens you. But once you commit to a relationship, a familiar pattern often emerges. You prioritize her needs over your own. You adjust your habits to avoid conflict. You restrict your free time. You silence your desires to maintain peace. You shrink your world to fit the relationship. Your growth slows. Your renaissance becomes smaller than it was meant to be. Stoicism teaches that purpose must remain at the center of a man's life. Not romance, not approval, not companionship, purpose. Yet many men over 50 become intoxicated by attention and quietly push their purpose aside. A relationship can bring warmth, but it can also dull the fire you spent decades building. The cost isn't only emotional, it's spiritual. It's energetic, it's deeply personal. It's the cost of becoming a smaller man to keep someone else comfortable. And at this stage of life, that price deserves serious reflection. Let this be clear. This message is not telling you to avoid women, connection, or dating. It's saying something far more important. Never enter a relationship from fear, loneliness, or weakness. Enter only from strength, self-respect, and awareness. A stoic man chooses. He does not cling. He does not chase. He does not beg. He does not diminish himself. He stands complete on his own. Evaluates. He watches carefully. He reflects before moving. He chooses from clarity, not from emotional hunger or fear. The true Stoic path is not about rejecting relationships altogether. It is about rejecting any relationship that demands the sacrifice of your peace, your purpose, or your freedom. If you ever decide to allow a woman into your life, let it be because she genuinely adds value, not because she fills an internal void. No woman should be a replacement for purpose, direction, or inner strength. She should be an addition to a life that already stands firmly on its own. You might ask yourself, so what should a man over 50 or 60 do instead? The answer is simpler than most expect, yet far more demanding. It requires honesty, discipline, and courage. First, place purpose above everything else. Your mission is the spine of your masculinity, the structure that holds your life upright. It must remain non-negotiable. Second, value peace more than companionship. A quiet, stable home is worth far more than a relationship filled with tension, noise, and emotional turbulence. Choose peace consistently, even when loneliness whispers otherwise. Third, approach dating casually rather than with immediate commitment. If you appreciate feminine energy, enjoy it without surrendering your autonomy. Be clear in your intentions, respectful in your actions, and honest in your words. Fourth, maintain strong emotional boundaries. Offer support without absorbing another person's emotional weight. Be present without carrying burdens that are not yours. Finally, protect your renaissance. This phase of life is rare, powerful, and deeply personal. Do not allow anyone, including yourself, to weaken it through poor choices or fear-driven attachment. A man who rises strong after 50 becomes someone younger men naturally respect. Women of all ages feel drawn toward him, not because he chases approval, but because he is anchored within himself. Many men over 50 fail to realize how quickly their identity can shift when they enter a relationship without full awareness. At this stage, your sense of self is refined, sharpened by decades of experience. You've endured loss, success, disappointment, and growth. These experiences forged a calmer, stronger version of you. But the moment your boundaries soften and your decisions begin orbiting someone else's emotions, you risk drifting away from that man. This erosion rarely happens all at once. It starts with small adjustments that appear harmless. You skip your morning routine just once. You avoid expressing a need to prevent discomfort. You remain silent to preserve surface-level peace. These choices feel insignificant in the moment, but over time they accumulate into a pattern. Gradually, you organize your life around someone else's moods, expectations, and insecurities rather than your own values and priorities. At this age, the danger is greater because your emotional reserves are more limited. Younger men can afford imbalance and recover quickly. Older men pay a steeper price. Stress impacts their health more severely. Emotional strain drains them faster. And the loss of freedom cuts deeper because it took decades to earn. Modern Stoicism emphasizes something essential. A man must clearly distinguish between what is his responsibility and what is not. Many older men enter relationships with good intentions. They want to support, uplift, and be reliable. But without awareness, their empathy becomes a doorway to self-sacrifice. They slowly stop growing, they stop exploring, they stop defending their mental space. Ironically, the more they surrender their identity, the less grounded and attractive they become. Women are not drawn to men who lose themselves. They are drawn to men who remain rooted, steady, and confident in their direction. This explains why many relationships after 50 feel exhausting rather than fulfilling. Men enter with hope but without boundaries. They enter with warmth but without structure. They seek connection while forgetting that connection can never replace purpose. At this stage of life, the most powerful position a man can take is to remain centered, not closed off, not emotionally distant, centered, connected to purpose, connected to peace, connected to identity. When a man holds this position, the right woman does not drain him. She fits naturally into his life. The wrong woman fades away on her own because she cannot pull a grounded man off his path. This is the deeper truth behind the message. A relationship itself does not destroy a man. A relationship entered from weakness does. A relationship entered from fear does. A relationship entered without purpose does. But a relationship entered from strength becomes something entirely different. It becomes an addition rather than a replacement. It becomes a complement, not a compromise. It becomes a partnership instead of a burden. And the older a man becomes, the more critical this distinction grows. This is why Stoicism resonates so strongly with men in this age group. It teaches them to stand firm within their inner world, to evaluate situations without emotional noise, and to recognize that not every connection deserves commitment. Most men over 50 have spent decades putting others first. Partners, children, family, employers, society. Responsibility has shaped most of their lives. For many, this is the first time they are truly allowed to live for themselves. Ironically, this is also the time many rush into relationships out of fear of being alone. But solitude at this stage is not a weakness. It is a gift. It is the first opportunity to rebuild identity without pressure, to explore who you are without constant compromise, and to design a life that reflects your true values rather than old obligations. Many men discover new passions, adventures, businesses, spiritual depth, physical transformation, and renewed confidence during these years. These discoveries were often impossible when they were emotionally entangled or constantly adjusting to someone else's needs. When a man remains grounded in purpose, he becomes naturally selective. He does not give his time freely. He does not offer his emotional strength without discernment. He does not become available by default. This selectiveness protects his renaissance. It ensures that if a woman enters his life, she steps into a world that is already full, balanced, and meaningful, not a life waiting to be rescued from loneliness. Men often underestimate how attractive this version of themselves becomes, not only to women their age, but also to younger women and society at large. People are drawn to calm power, and calm power emerges only when a man refuses to lose himself again. The deeper truth is simple. For a man over 50, the greatest danger is not being single. The greatest danger is surrendering the peace he spent a lifetime building. Relationships are not the enemy. Losing yourself is. And unless a man enters a relationship with awareness, boundaries, purpose, and emotional clarity, he will repeat the same patterns that drained him before. As a man ages, his life becomes more sacred. His time becomes more valuable. His energy becomes more precious. His peace becomes non-negotiable. This is why men who understand this evolve into a new kind of strength, quiet, deliberate, deeply attractive, and entirely free. In the end, a girlfriend is not the problem. The problem is entering a relationship blindly without understanding its true cost. A stoic man over 50 understands this clearly. Freedom is priceless. Peace is sacred. Purpose is everything. These must be protected without apology. If a woman strengthens them, that is a gift. If she weakens them, walking away is an act of self-respect. The man you are becoming in your 50s and 60s is far more valuable than the comfort of any relationship built on fear, habit, or emotional dependence.